Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Karishma and this video is the second video in our IGCSE Global Perspective 2025 new syllabus series. If you have ever felt confused about how you are being marked in Global Perspective exam, then this video is what you have been waiting for. Today, we are going to go behind the scenes into the assessment objectives, or what we call it as AOs. These are the 4 golden rules that examiner follows to grade your work, whether it's your individual report, your team project, or your written examination. Before we dive in, if you are an IGCSE student or a parent, make sure to subscribe to this channel because we have officially launched a complete IGCSE Global Perspective new syllabus series in 2025, fully aligned with the new syllabus. This video is the second video in this series, and for those of you who want deeper learning, like full-length topic-wise lectures, downloadable notes, sample responses, and insider's tips, do not hesitate to join our channel membership. It's designed to help you master every component of this subject with confidence. All the links you need are in the description and the pinned comment below. And that now let's get started with today's video. Understanding the AOs can make the difference between getting a B or an A. So grab your notes and stay till the end because I share real examples, examiner tips, and one final trick to boost your score in every single component. That takes me to the first section, that is what are assessment objectives. So the first thing first, what are AOs? Assessment objectives are the skills and criteria that examiners use to evaluate your work. Instead of just checking if you memorized the fact or you have actually understood that. AOs check if you can think critically, analyze global and local perspectives, conduct ethical and structured research, works as a team, communicate clearly. There are 4 main AOs in IGCSE Global Perspective, and each one is tied directly to your final grade. The better you perform in each assessment objectives, the higher your chances of scoring a distinction in this particular subject. In the second section, let's break down from assessment objective 1 to assessment objective 4. When we talk about assessment objective 1, it focuses on research, analysis, and evaluation. And the weightage of this particular assessment objective is pretty high across all the 4. This assessment objective checks if you can find relevant and credible sources, if you can analyze the information instead of just describing it, if you can evaluate arguments and identify biases. And what examiners expects from you for this particular assessment objective, let's also understand that. Clear referencing, Howard style or consistent formatting. Use of at least 3 to 5 credible sources. Discussion of source strengths and weaknesses. And let me also break it down further with a few examples. Now, let's say the topic is food insecurity in sub-Saharan Africa. A good AO1 answer would use UN report, compare it with local government article, and evaluate why the UN report might be more objective due to global coverage. A poor AO1 would just copy-paste information without analyzing or questioning its relevance. Components it applies to. Let's understand the components this assessment objective applies to. First, it applies to individual report, your research quality and depth. Second, it applies to your team project, which is collaborative analysis. Third, it applies to written exam, evaluating viewpoints and arguments. Now, that takes me to the next assessment objective, that is assessment objective 2, reflection critical self-awareness and learning. In this assessment objective, it checks about, did you learn something new through the research or teamwork? Did your personal perspective evolve? Can you articulate personal growth? And what examiners expect in this assessment objective? Let's understand that. A well-developed reflection that discusses how your views changed. A balance of personal insights and academic understandings. Not just writing, I enjoyed this project, but why did you enjoy and how did you enjoy? That is what you need to answer. Let's look at some of the good examples. I used to think that migration was mostly for jobs, but after interviewing local immigrants and reading UNHCR reports, I realized that many migrate due to climate disasters and safety concerns. This is a very good example of answering AO1, that is of catering to assessment objective 1. Now let's look at a poor reflection. I learned a lot and enjoyed working with my team. You have not talked about why, what did you learn, how did you evolve after looking at all the reports. And the component this particular assessment objective applies to is individual report. The final section of individual report, which is reflection, which is 10 marks. Team project, which is personal reflection on collaboration and conflict resolution, completely dedicated to this assessment objective. Now, the pro tip over here is students often lose marks here because they treat it as a diary entry. Instead, treat it like a mini case study about your learning process. And that takes me to the next assessment objective, that is collaboration. And it is exclusively only for the team project because that is the only component where you collaborate with your classmates. And this assessment objective, which is assessment objective 3, checks how well did you collaborate with your team? How did you make constructive contributions? Were roles clearly defined and followed? And what examiners expect you to do in this assessment objective? They talk about clear documentation of group discussion. So it's a very good habit to always document things as along the way in your global perspective team projects. Equal and meaningful participations, problem solving, and teamwork evidences. Now, the example for this assessment objective, let's look at it. In a project about access to education, one student handles data visualization, another interviews NGOs, and another compiles findings. Together, they meet regularly, adjust roles, and submit a cohesive outcome. Now, the poor AO3 could be one student does all the work, others are passive, and examiners can tell that. So don't think that you cannot hide this fact. Component it applies to is team project only, and it's worth 35% of your grade. So this is a very important component, that is assessment objective 3 on collaboration. Now the pro tip over here is keep a collaboration log using Google Docs or Notion and attach screenshots of virtual meetings to show real team work. Not only virtual meetings, but even real meetings, real execution, surveys, everything should be documented in terms of images for this particular report. Now that takes me to the next part, that is assessment objective 4, which focuses on communication in terms of clarity, organization, and presentation. This assessment objective checks, are your ideas clearly and logically communicated? Is the report or presentation well structured? Is your grammar and vocabulary appropriate for an academic setting? And what examiners expect you to do in this part? Heading, subheadings, and clear transitions. Visually clean slides in presentations. No spelling errors or informing language. In your individual report, for example, let's look at an example. In your individual report, proper citations, concise intro, and organized arguments with bullet points wherever needed. Now, the poor AO4 could be walls of text, unclear paragraphs, inconsistent fonts, and no citations. And this particular assessment objective applies for all three components. This AO is your baseline for scoring high. The fun fact over here is students who focus on presentation and structure often gain 6 to 8 extra marks just because their work is easier to read in essays. And that takes me to the next section, that is how assessment objectives apply to each component. So you can see the table flashed on my screen to understand how it is divided in all the components with respect to the assessment objective. Knowing this helps you prioritize your efforts, and if you're working on your individual report, focus on AO1, AO2 and AO4. And if you are in the team project, make sure AO3, which is collaboration, it's super strong. Now, the final section of today's video, wherein examiner expectations, what do they look for? Hear it straight. What do examiner wants to see? Depth and not drama. They prefer focused analytical answers over emotional storytelling. They prefer balances of perspective wherein you show local and global views. They talk about structured thinking by using bullet points, subheadings, and logical flow. They focus on consistent referencing, use one single style, and cite sources properly. They focus on clarity and honesty in reflection. It's okay to admit challenges as long as you have shown growth. Now, insider tips over here is students who critically evaluate sources and explore more than one perspective often score in the top band. And the bonus for today's video is common mistakes linked to your assessment objective. Let's quickly match common errors to AO. When I talk about assessment objective 1, only one source is used, or citing Wikipedia, not accepted. You have to use multiple sources. You have to reference. You have to use credible sources and authentic sources. In assessment objective 2, reflection is emotional or vague. Please keep your emotions aside when you are focusing on this subject. You have to be analytical and evaluative. Assessment objective 3, not recording or documenting team collaboration, one of the weakness of most of the population. They cannot easily document and record, which hampers their future growth, and hence it's important to develop the skill through AO3. AO4 is spelling and grammar errors, inconsistent formatting, and unclear slides. And these adds up pretty fast and can bring down your overall grades. You can use Google Scholar, UN reports, or academic databases for AO1. You can keep a research journal and reflection for your AO2. You can maintain meeting notes and shared documents for AO3. You can use Grammarly to clean up AO4. Please avoid using ChatGPT's, DeepSeek, and all of these AI tools to write any of your reports. It can be easily caught and you will end up landing in a soup. You have to use mind maps to link global and local ideas. This is a golden rule for AO1 and AO2. Now that you know how you are being marked, it's time to take that knowledge and use it where it counts the most, your individual report. And this is one of the highest weight components of your entire IGCSE Global Perspective grade. In our next video, we'll break it down step by step, how to choose a powerful topic, how to structure your report, what kind of evidence works the best, and how to nail that final reflection. Trust me, it's packed with examples and examiner that can boost your report from good to great. So if you feel it will be worthwhile to wait and watch that video, hitting a subscribe button goes without saying. And if you found this video helpful, a thumbs up will boost it on the YouTube algorithm. And remember, Global perspective isn't about having all the answers, it's about learning to ask the right question. Thank you. Hope to see you in the next video.